Evening, everyone. I just made a video on how to tune with a Davis profiler with your Holley EFI, and I figured I would make another video keeping up with the trend of traction control to show you how to set up and use Holley's traction control. So let's open up Holley EFI V6 and hit Open Global File. This is my most recent global file, so this is what we're going to work with. So this ICF right here, Traction ICF, if you don't have it, you need to go to Toolbox, add individual config, and whoops, I'm not used to the new pointer, it's big. Traction, and then just grab default. I'm not going to do that because I already have it open. So let's go to the Traction ICF. So system type, you need to select active speed management, and it's going to tell you to enter your pass key. So you need you'll need a pass key from Holley. I think it's like $499. If you need that, feel free to hit us up at HCR Innovations. It's hcrinnovations.com or call our shop. Phone numbers on the website. So anyway, you'll copy that in there and then you'll be good to go. But we can still play with it without that. So a few things that we need to do before we get into it. Drive shaft speed input for traction control. So click this down arrow box. You'll need drive shaft speed for this to work. So assuming you've watched plenty of my other videos on how to set up drive shaft speed, just click on your drive shaft speed input and then drop down. Then you've got a minimum drive shaft speed for activation and a maximum drive shaft speed for activation. So you can say maybe 8,000 RPM, and a minimum RPM might be a good idea to set this to about 150 because when you first let go of the button, it can be like a little erratic just because it's seeing multiple teeth. Like the shock of it will shoot the drive shaft up, and you'll see that when we look at data. So right here, x-axis max time. This is where you decide how long you want, or how finite you want to be able to mess with the dots, and when you're running the car, like how tight you want the dots to be when you're changing your traction control strategy. So your x-axis max time, right now it's set to 10 seconds. I'll show you why we changed that, okay? So let's go into drive shaft. So first thing you need to do is you need to import a log file. Now, you can't import a log file if you don't have one open. So there's not an open data log to import. So hit OK. So let's go to data log, open data log. This is just the most recent data log I got. It's opened. We don't even need to look at it. There it is. Okay. Now we hit import log file. It says there's not a drive shaft RPM configured in this log file. Please select it from the list below. So drive shaft speed profile. Hit OK. There we go. Now where to go? Well, our RPM scale only goes to 600. So let's change that to 9,000. There we go. There she is, right? Now, let's make that a little bit more accurate, right? So we do this and hit R for rows. There we go. Now, what we need to do, now if you notice, there's a certain amount of dots here. I don't remember what the number is, but this timer is set to 10 seconds out here, right? And me personally, I shut traction control off around here, 2.5 seconds into the run. But we race on radials, so usually 2.5 seconds into the run, if it makes a gear change, it's not going to spin. So this is up to you what you want to do. But right here, this is like the end of the run for this pass is a 1/4 mile pass at when let's just call this like 0.2 seconds, right? So let's go back to setup and change the x-axis max time to 6.2. You'll see why this is important. Okay, go back to drive shaft, import log file, click drive shaft speed profile. Okay, now we've got a better usage of our dots. Okay, so right now, if you notice that the dots are highlighted, or there's little dots here on the rev limit line. So if you click up here, edit rev limit, you see the dots go away, come back, go away, come back, whatever. Down here is base. So we need to create a base. So if we come over here and you turn it from a pointer to a little finger, right click, and you can hit copy to base. All right, now I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use the mouse wheel to zoom in. And you see, we've got little dots. All right. So you see the little dots. That's your base. Okay. Now, let's zoom back out. We'll go right click. We'll hit offset, offset to retard A. So if you copy to retard A, it's just going to put retard A right on top of your base, which may be what you want to do. In this instance, I'm just going to show you pretty big windows so you can see the lines real easy and understand how all this works, right? So we're going to offset this with Shift plus, let's go 50 RPM ahead, okay? So what that means is, let's zoom back in. Notice it is all 50 RPM gap, right? Click Edit Retard A. Notice there's our dot. There's our dot. We've got two dots on top of each other. There we go. We can synchronize axes. There we go. So now you see we've got dot, 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 right? There's a 50 RPM spread between the two of them. Now, if we right click again, hit offset to retard B, remember, if retard B means it's going to retard more timing than retard A. So if it already made it through A and it's going into B, we need to be higher than what we are at A. So if retard A is 50 RPM, let's give retard B positive 100 RPM. Now notice retard B is even higher, right? If we're going to go past retard B, we need to edit the rev limit. So we can go in here and we can right click again, offset, rev limit, and let's go Shift plus 200. Now look at that. So there's three lines that populated here, but only one that's really editable, right? So if you notice, as I'm moving these, right, these are shrinking and growing as well, these two here. Those are cylinder cuts. So if we turn those off, what that means is it's cutting cylinders. Once it gets over this line and it's getting over this line, it starts to cut cylinders to try to slow it down. So the whole idea with traction control, obviously, is to slow down the drive shaft, right? So if we look at this, we're zoomed pretty far in, but if we look at this, right here is our base. Right here is retard A. This is where our drive shaft was, right? Which means we're already above retard A and going into retard B. Once we cross over this blue line right here, retard A, we have now entered into retard B. Just keep that in mind. Once you cross over retard B, you now enter into what they call rev limit, and this is where they're going to start cutting cylinders, okay? So it's cylinder cut, cylinder cut, cylinder cut, right? So the idea is to keep this line, well, the idea is to go fast, but the goal with setting this up is to be able to move this line, drive shaft speed, along your base, okay? If it goes above your base and starts approaching to retard A, it's going to start to retard timing. So hopefully everybody understands how to set this stuff up. Now, does everybody understand also why I changed this timer to 6.2 seconds? I personally shut off traction control around 2.5 seconds and 3 seconds. Let's just call it 3 seconds. So let me show you what that does. So if we go here, setup, and let's change that x-axis match time to 3 seconds. There we go. There we go. Drive shaft. Now, let's go import log file. Drive shaft speed profile. There we go. All right, now watch what happens. Copy this to the base. Right click, offset, retard A, Shift plus 50. Gives us a lot more resolution. Right? So it gives it a lot more resolution. Notice we've got a lot more dots to play with in a shorter period of time. Right? So it doesn't matter what you do, but it doesn't matter how you do it, but just understand how this works. Okay? If we want to, we can right click and we can hit offset, retard B. We'll go Shift plus 100. Okay. And then we can offset rev limiter, Shift plus 200. There we go. So, and it's up to you how tight you want to keep these windows, right? So, make your decisions wisely, right? So Now we've got a lot more, we got a lot closer dot spreads, right? So we can tune that in a little bit tighter if we want to. Now let's look at what retard A and retard B do. So retard A, right now we're editing retard A, okay? Now obviously minus 30 degrees in 3 seconds would be stupid, okay? So if this entire line was just -5, okay? That means that anytime that the drive shaft speed goes above the baseline, okay? We're in a baseline right now. If we go above the baseline, it will start to remove timing as we approach this blue line. As we get to this blue line, it'll have 5 degrees out of it, okay? Now, obviously, that's a pretty blanket, easy, dumb way to do things. Maybe for the first point or 1 second, maybe you want it to be able to retard minus 10 degrees, right? And then from here, maybe from here to here, and again, you can key in whatever you want here, minus 15, right? Now we go to retard B. Okay, so what we can do is we can, we're in retard A still. We can do this. This is easy. We can copy, go to retard B, right? And then we can left click, hold, drag, highlight, right click and hit paste. And now they're doing the same exact thing. Now what we can do is we can offset selected and go -5. So now retard B is going to pull 5 more degrees in the same time frames as retard A. So hopefully that makes sense. That's an easy way to set this up if you just getting your feet wet with this and not understanding it. Rough and dirty, but it works. So this is how you use Holley's traction control. Some people find it easier than Davis's. Some people find it harder than Davis's. But either way, this is how you use it. Once you save this, it will save it, and then you can just change you can go over here and go offset editable curves, and you can just make a wholesale change to the entire thing, right? So you can just say, you know what, I want to give it, plus, let's say 25 RPM, right? There we go. And what it did is it raises our baseline. See how our baseline's up above it now, right? So now our baseline is up higher than it was. It's up by 25 RPM. So we can offset it, and then the whole thing moves it. It moves all of them, okay? There's also a bunch of other options here, like show labels. So if you want to know, like, look right there, 3152 and 3202. If we go to retard B, it's 3227. If we go to rev limit, it's 3327. So now you can see your spreads real easy right there, right? You can also smooth when dragging. You can smooth it, whatever you want to do. You guys play with this and you'll learn it. You'll figure it out. But this is the rough and dirty way to use Holley's traction control. So turn off labels. There you go. It's easier to import the log file to this. It's more cumbersome to create actual good, solid run curves, in my opinion. So, whatever you're going to do, choose wisely. Hopefully, I've given you enough information to make your decision and make it a little bit easier for everybody. So if you guys need help with this stuff, feel free to reach out to us at HCR Innovations. Watch my other video that I just posted up on the profiler. Learn all about traction control. We are heading to Georgia in a couple days to run at Lights Out, and we'll be using the traction control, I'm sure, pretty aggressively. So, all right, see you guys later.